Hello everyone. Hello everyone. For today's video, I was asked to talk about the Network and Sharing Center in Windows 10, and that actually becomes a pretty big subject. So I'm going to try and simplify it the best that I can. For one, I would assume you're trying to do sharing and or even discovery of another computer on your network. And with Windows 10, that can become pretty difficult. It's always kind of been difficult with Windows historically, but with Windows 10, it can be even more so. So hopefully this video can help you in your struggles there. So I made myself some notes um, to kind of help with this. And the number one thing you need to make sure is that your devices are connected to the same network, either through the Ethernet port or Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter. They just needs to be plugged into the same backplane or uh, host, as you will, from the network, the internet. So for those of you who aren't tech savvy, that would be your same access point or device that you got from your ISP, whoever your internet service provider is. Your devices all need to be connected to that very same device. So either that Wi-Fi that you set up or plugged into a switch or a hub that you also have plugged into that modem or router that you got from your ISP. Number two thing to worry about in Windows 10 is what version of Windows are your two devices. The older versions of Windows 10, specifically 1803, had a lot of issues doing networking. That's kind of where the switch went over from, work groups and home groups and things from all the older versions of Windows to the new Microsoft account and cloud-based sharing and OneDrive setup that we have now with the newer versions of Windows. 1803 and older are going to have lots of issues trying to connect not only with each other but also with any newer versions of Windows 10. So one way you can check a couple ways you can check with what your version is. Uh, this PC, system properties, PC settings, system about. So I'm going to do that one. Go here to settings and find your about. Well, and this is a newer one, so go into system and about, and then you can see what your version is and what your build is. So you see mine is 19042, which is quite a bit newer than 1803. My favorite way to check though is the run command and the WinVer option. So you do that by holding down the Windows key, pressing R brings up your run command box, and type WinVer here. Brings up a cool little dialog, and you can see what your build is and your version quickly there. After 1803, like I said, your home groups are gone and your network groups are gone. Everything is the Microsoft account OneDrive cloud-based sharing, which to me is actually simpler, but it can be confusing to a lot of people. The official response from Microsoft for 1803 was that they are aware of the reports devices running Windows 10 1803 cannot connect to other devices on the home network, and they are investigating the issue. If you go to there, and I'll post this in the comments of the video, you can find this kind of workaround. So if you're running, heaven forbid, a pirated version of Windows that's 1803 or older, or you're someone that doesn't like to update your Windows, per se bugs or whatnot, you want to wait for those to be fully vetted by other individuals before you go for it. There is a workaround there. And going through the workaround, the two things that are really important when you do this, you're setting the boot up sequence there for these two services. It says to do all of these, which may or may not be required. Of the two important ones are those two for finding another computer. Um, and I'm not necessarily going to walk through that because it's pretty old. Chances of somebody being on there aren't very likely anymore. It's 2021. 1803 was back in 2018. There may be some people on there, so like I said, I'll put this link in there, and you can follow the instructions from Microsoft. Um, 1809 and newer, you're now cloud-based networking, which is, like I said, I like it. Part of that includes using a Microsoft account, like I said, to log into Windows instead of a local account, and I think that you should. There's a lot of advantages to using the Microsoft account, not only your OneDrive and advanced sharing through the internet as well, but also using your Microsoft account, there's a lot of family advantages as well. So you can add different Microsoft accounts as family members set their age limits. You can do a lot of control for your family as far as what even apps on Windows your kids can access, and or websites. You can set time limits, and I may get into that, but that would be probably another video to go into the Microsoft account and everything that you can do with that. Um, so once you get all of that figured out, you're connected to the same device. The next thing to kind of do is make sure that your desktops and laptops can see each other. Two things that you need to turn on: network discovery and file and print sharing. So we're going to go do that. The easiest way I like to, there's several ways you can get there. You can go to settings, you can go to network, you can find control, you can search for control panel, you can go to the network and whatnot there. But what I like to do is just find your network down here in the system tray, and it'll be your little Wi-Fi bars. If you're connected to Wi-Fi, or it'll be this if you're connected plugged in. Right click, go open network and internet settings, and you're going to want to come down here and go to the network and sharing center, and then from here you're going to want to go change advanced sharing settings, and you're going to need network discovery turned on, and you're going to need automatic setup of network connected devices turned on. And then depending on how you want to share your files, you should turn on file and print sharing. There is something very important you need to understand, though. If you're trying to share files just locally between computers that are connected to the same, hub, or the same modem router that you got from your ISP, in your house, you want to share files between. They're only going to be seen when you turn on sharing to users that have a username and password on the computer that you are trying to share the files to. Once it's turned on, if you know the exact path, you can type it and go to it, but then you're going to get a window pop up saying that you don't have access if that user from that other computer doesn't have an actual username and login on your computer. That's again where that Microsoft account comes on. You can go into your family settings in Windows, and you can say, this family member can log on or not log on to this computer. If you say they can log on to this computer, and you have, the file and print sharing password protected turned on, they should be able to see those files as well. But that's where it starts getting a bit complicated. And again, that could be another video. Once you have those two things turned on, then you're going to want to make sure that you can see the other computer on your network. I may or may not have one on right now that I can go look at. Actually, yeah, Karen's on right now, so I can see that. I discovered that one. So the next thing you're going to want to do is, go to the computer, find out what the computer name is that you're trying to find from the other computer. So let's say this one that I'm on right now is a computer that I want to connect to this one. I want to make sure this one can see it and vice versa. The thing you're going to want to do is figure out what the computer name is. So again, and actually not that way, we're going to want to go settings and system and about system. And actually in here you can, this is also where you can see your Windows version is in the about screen, but then the about screen is where you can see the system name. So this system's name is Tucson. The next thing that you're going to want to do is see if you can ping that computer. So the computer that I was wondering if I can see, Karen-desktop, I'm going to go ping that. The easiest way, Windows, again, R, and this time we're going to type CMD for command prompt. I'm going to say ping space. Now we're pinging a name, which will resolve usually an IP version 6 number, and her file and print sharing is probably turned off, which is why I can't ping her. So I typically like to go off of the IP address, or the what I refer to as like the phone number of your computer. How you can find that, there's a way in command prompt too, but an easier way is go here, go to your properties. Well, we wanted the different properties. Hold on. Adapter options. Okay. And we're going to go status on the one that's connected. Details. Okay. And then you can see this particular computer's IP address is 153. And another way you can tell if your computers are connected to the same network is if these set of 3 numbers are the same. And that can be different depending on what your mask is, but we're not going to go into that because most users aren't going to have that advanced of a network. But for everybody at home, these first 3 sets of numbers before the dot or the period there need to be the same. So my network is here in the house is 192.168.1, and then everything after that is a different number. And you can see the gateway or my device from the ISP that everything's connected to is 1.1. Most everything is 1.1 or 0.1 from your ISP. 192.168 is very, very common. Most likely everyone has that already. It's what your house is set up to, and that's just in local. That can't be seen outside of your own home. So my computer is 153, and that there's somewhere that resolves that to a name. And that's a bit complicated too, so I'm not going to go into that. But if I was to, let's just say, ping myself. I can see myself, it takes 1 millisecond. And if I was to ping my name, I would get a reply as well. I have the network and print sharing turned on, and the reply is the IP version 6 address, which is a lot more complicated. So it's easier to ping from the name once you find the name in. But again, you have to have the network sharing turned on and all that, so that then you can ping. After you get the ping figured out and you're getting a response like this instead of a timed out, then you should be able to see that other computer in there, and you should be able to start sharing files. Now, like I said, sharing files becomes a lot more complicated with the newer version of Windows. And the number one thing you need to remember, like I said, was that password protected sharing, and that's in that same area we were in before. The easiest way is to just turn it off, but then anything you share is open to anyone, and you may not want to do that. Network and Sharing Center, Advanced. So like I said, those 2 need to turn on. You go down here to All Networks, expand that down is where you're going to find password protected sharing on or off. And like I said here, when password protected sharing is on, only people who have a user account and password on this computer can access shared files, printers attached to this computer, and public folders. To give other people access, you must turn off password protected sharing. So there you have it. Windows is even saying if you want to give other people access that don't have an account, you have to turn off password protected sharing. But that also means you can't be specific. You can't say person A has access to these files and person B can't. If it's off. If it's off, it's just if you're sharing it on your local network, it's shared to everybody. But if you are going to have password protected sharing on and you went into your Microsoft account and you added who can log into this computer using their Microsoft account, it becomes pretty easy to share the file. Excuse me, that's just there. And you want to do it as a folder. I went and left my area there. So you can, the easiest way is to share a full folder. And what you're going to want to do is go to Properties here, go to Sharing, click Share, and as you see, I already allowed her. I'm going to remove it. But anybody that you have, you're going to type in their Microsoft account email address here, add, and then they will be added as someone who can access those files, and other people on your network won't be able to. And that's pretty much it for the basics. If you need something a little more complicated and a specific thing, hit me up in the comments. I can go through some specifics there, but that covers the basics of how to get your computers seeing each other and sharing files, and also talking about IP addresses and host names and whatnot. So I hope this helps. Have a beautiful day, and